Jez Frampton, CEO of Interbrand. Mondelez?
Indeed, yes, but a very clever idea, really, because it enables them to change the way that people see them around the world, and it is all about being a more worldly company than Kraft was historically.
Yeah, but why do they have to then put a pronunciation on it? I mean, surely that is going to be a big difference. You know, it could be Mondelez, it could be Mondelez.
Do you know what?
A bit odd.
This is fairly common stuff. I mean, the first time you ever saw the word Xerox written down, did you know how to say it? Had you ever heard it before?
Didn't think of it that way.
We do get used to these things over time. When Arthur Andersen became Accenture for a little while, everyone took a while to get their head around that. You know, and that was a great example of where they needed to do it for good, strong strategic regions and enabled them to reposition the company over time.
I just want to go over where they got this from. It's portmanteau. It's a portmanteau, so it's two words put together. So it's the monde, the Latin word for world, and delice, which is delicious. And actually, did you know that Verizon is also a portmanteau?
It is indeed. Doesn't it come from Verity, which was one of their staff, and I can't remember what the other half
Bell
was.
Atlantic and GTE formed Verizon, which was Veritas with Horizon.
It's all very 1990s, though, isn't it? Making up corporate names. I mean, remember Consignia? It was Royal Mail,
that was
then
the
Consignia,
Royal Mail.
and then it changed back to Royal Mail. It was a real fad in the 90s. Why have they gone down
one of the
path?
things that you have to consider, of course, is that to register any brand name nowadays, it's very difficult to come up with the names in the first place, but what's really difficult is registering them, particularly because of the internet. Actually finding a word
that's not already
you can
trademarked.
register. Absolutely, you can't use ordinary words because you can't register them. You need to be able to find something you can actually trademark. So the process of doing it, so you've got that issue. You've also got to find something that people can pronounce everywhere in the world that doesn't sound like somebody else. It's a really difficult
sound like a
thing
rude
to do.
word.
And also,
Yes,
exactly,
indeed.
doesn't have a naughty definition in another language. I was
things do
looking
happen.
into Reebok. It named a shoe Incubus at one point, and it actually means a mythical spirit that descends on a woman in her sleep, and they were horrified and had to recall the shoe. So you have to be careful.
You do have
it
to
costs
be
a lot of
careful.
money to do this.
It does cost a lot of money, and there's a creative process of doing it, and there's also the legal process of registering it, which is the really expensive bit, but the real money goes behind adding meaning into the brand once you've done it. So the real job that Kraft have got to do now is to help people understand what Mondelez stands for, what it's about. It's primarily going to be about their shareholders. This isn't about us consumers buying their products.
Because the shareholders have to vote for it.
Well, they do, but the board's already passed it, and I think, as I said, the strategic reasons are very good. I'd be very surprised if it didn't go
And
through.
what's the difference between a name that really sticks and a name that just doesn't, and people are just going, oh, this is completely insane? What makes it work, what makes it doesn't?
It actually is very rarely anything to do with the name itself. It's to the way that the company then breathes meaning into it through their products and services, their culture, their communications, and their buildings and places.
But on the important
brands.
thing for Kraft, for instance, it's actually the brand of cookies, Oreo cookies, for instance, that people go for. They don't necessarily know that Kraft make them.
But if you like Philadelphia, you probably do know who Kraft are. So there is an association with one particular product line, which is an issue in itself. When they bought Cadbury, people were, horrified by the fact that this was now going to be a Kraft company. This gives them an opportunity to reposition the way all of their companies fit within their portfolio. It is a problem that faces a lot of companies. Take a look at BMW. They own Rolls-Royce and Mini and a whole host of other brands.
Rebrandings, renamings sometimes fail.
Yes, they do. And Consignia, I
Spectacularly
think, is the
sometimes.
classic example. The other one was Monday, of course, which was the other name that
what
they
was
came
it?
up.
That
It was
was the
Arthur
first-
Andersen's,
okay.
and they then became Accenture.
Tell me
Which
why
was,
I don't like Mondays.
well, exactly. Everyone hates the first day of the week, and then a consulting company decides to call themselves that. Wasn't too clever. And Consignia, of course, was the biggest one in the UK.
And Accenture was one of the success stories.
Absolutely, but again, what they did was they spent a lot of time breathing real meaning into it. Very strong advertising campaigns and good solid company performance.
Can I just
underneath.
say, this really reminds me of a comedy sketch by Eddie Izzard, because they were going through, he stands on stage, the British comedian, and says how the marketing process changed getting Jerry Dorsey into Engelbert Humperdinck. But that is another name and another story all entirely. Jez Frampton, Interbrand CEO, we're really grateful to you. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jez.